Yes, indeed, the rumors are true. Tom Holland himself played a major role in keeping Spider-Man in the MCU. We're going to break down all the details. There's way more to this story than you've probably heard.
It's like the news, but for nerds.
Hey, shout out goes to Danny Orange. Indeed, Moonstone was Miss Marvel in The Dark Avengers in the comic books. Make sure you stay to the end of this video where we will ask another nerd card question. What's up, everybody? Happy Thursday to you. I am Josh. Welcome back to the show, and wow, what a happy Thursday it is. Now, you probably saw a bunch of different articles and videos come out yesterday all about how Tom Holland himself played a major role in putting Spider-Man back into the MCU, and yes, I'm here to say those reports are correct. So this is coming from The Hollywood Reporter, which is an incredibly good source. But yes, according to THR, Tom Holland himself made calls to Tom Rothman, Bob Iger, and Alan Horn after negotiations with Sony and Marvel had completely died. I mean, guys, this kid literally called Bob Iger. Bob Iger is the dude that famously would walk onto set and Robert Downey Jr. would get nervous and like button up his shirt straight. Like, Bob Iger is the biggest of the big fish when it comes to producer business Disney movie making worlds. And this kid not only called these dudes, but actually got them to come back to the table. That is bold. That is very bold. Also, it makes his Wolf of Wall Street post on Instagram it's all the much more sweeter. Like, you got it, play on, playa. But the details don't stop there, so let's break down some of the other stuff that's in this Hollywood Reporter article, and let's talk about what some fans are saying about different details in here. There's a little fan war going on between different scoopers out there, and I want to talk about that too. Okay, so the main thing to take away here is that according to THR, the deal was completely dead. Like, after D23, it was completely over. So I know a lot of people out there were saying, hey, negotiations are still ongoing, there's still talk to the table. That is not at all true. After D23, the deal was completely off the table, and the reason is because Alan Horn actually walked away from the deal. It is reported that Marvel was issuing a 50-50% split, so the 50% split was a real thing, despite what some other people are reporting. Then back in January, it became a 25% split, which was offered by Disney because Sony rejected the 50-50, and then Sony didn't counter for another 6 months. So literally for 6 months, Sony does not do anything with this negotiation. And then at the time of Far From Home's box office, like when Far From Home is out there killing it, both the studios really dug their heels in this arrangement. And after not hearing anything back from Sony for so long, Alan Horn's like, you know what, screw you guys, and he takes everything off the table. So this is where we get all of the big reports and how Feige's not gonna produce and all this stuff, and Sony's out there saying like, oh, he's too busy, blah, 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 and everybody's trying to play the PR game. But yeah, all negotiations were completely dead at that point. Now there's this weird fan war going on right now between Mikey Sutton and Jeremy Conrad. These are both Marvel scoopers. We've covered what these people say and the stories that they break on this show several times in the past. And the bottom line here is I have nothing against either one of these dudes. I think they both do get some scoops, but they're both completely fallible. And in fact, the THR article actually proves that a lot of their recent reports are incorrect. So like, for instance, Mikey Sutton had said that the negotiations were ongoing, and he's out there right now trying to have this idea be spread around Twitter that Mikey Sutton was right and that the negotiations were ongoing. That's completely false. The negotiations had completely stopped. But Jeremy Conrad, who is retweeting a lot of this stuff, kind of secretly taking jabs at Mikey Sutton, and like, whatever, man, like, I think it's awesome. Like, either way, it's cool drama. But the fact is, Jeremy Conrad was incorrect as well. Jeremy Conrad claims that the 50-50% split was never actually a thing, and although maybe he is hearing that from his sources and he believes it, according to the Hollywood Reporter, that's not true. 50-50 was what Disney wanted. So that Bernie Mac meme that I did back in the day when we first broke this story totally works. Totally still works. Disney wanted half. All right, so that's the official news. Now let's jump into some sweet old speculation. You guys know I love this stuff. So I was looking at a couple of different things when thinking about this story, most notably the different social media posts and the way that Tom Holland had been acting on social media. We know, for instance, that he did meet with Robert Downey Jr. We know at D23 he met with Kevin Feige. We know that he met with Jon Favreau. The kid has high connections in a lot of different places, and he had been talking to a lot of different people about this. He'd also been talking to The Rock. Apparently him and The Rock are good friends, and they talk about business and they talk about being an actor and how to deal with these different studios and things like that. So Tom didn't just kind of take it upon himself to call Bob Iger, Alan Alan Horn and Tom Rothman. And even though that's super bold, and like we got to give a lot of props to Tom Holland, obviously, I believe he was coached or maybe coerced by a lot of these other very powerful Hollywood people out there to put the pressure on Rothman and to put the pressure on Alan Horn. I'm sure it took a little bit of leverage on both sides to get them to come back. You know, ultimately Alan's like, hey, Sony didn't talk to us for 6 months, screw them. And Tom Rothman's all like, yo, screw Disney, we can do it without them, whatever. So Tom had to obviously put pressure on both of these people to get things going. And specifically, even though it's nowhere in this report, I would have to surmise that Kevin Feige also played a role in this as well. I mean, the dude just has his fingers in so many pies, and we always talk about how he's like a 6D tactician, and he's really brilliant with the way that he announces things, uses the press. He's just really, really smart with business and producing. And so I'm gonna assume that he was on the horn as well, talking to Alan Horn and talking to Bob Iger, maybe even talking to Tom Rothman. I mean, Feige does have a relationship with all of these people as well. And if you look at the past, there's examples of when Marvel supersedes the Disney way, most notably with James Gunn. So what happened in the James Gunn situation was Alan Horn did the old school Disney thing and was like, yank this, no way, we don't want anyone anywhere near this thing with James Gunn. And then literally, from what we've heard, Kevin Feige reaches out to Bob Iger and they figure it out. So Feige was very integral in that happening. Also, the cast was very integral in that happening. But essentially, Marvel is such a money machine. It prints so much money, and it's so important to Disney moving forward that like they will bend on things. Disney will bend on things. They bent on the James Gunn situation, bringing him back into the Disney family after those horrible jokes service. And whatever you think about that, the bottom line is that's not really a Disney thing. Like, they did this because of Marvel. And so one would have to assume that what was going on with the SpiderMan deal is very similar. They did this because it was Marvel. I also tend to believe that the Star Wars scoop, which was essentially the scoop saying that Kevin Feige was going to be doing a Star Wars movie, that feels like a jab at Sony. In fact, when I reported on that the day it happened, I said, Sony's about to look real dumb, because no, Kevin Feige is not too busy to do all of these different things. And I saw some people out there saying like, guys, you know, look, maybe Sony knew about this thing, they knew about the Star Wars thing, and that's why they said that. Well, I'm sorry, it pretty much disproves it when they immediately turn around the next day and say, yeah, we'll have Feige come on and produce for that. Like, the bottom line is, they had no idea about the Star Wars thing, and I can't prove that, but just look at the tea leaves, man. Like, they had no idea. They were about to look very dumb, and it's even possible that Feige, I'm talking about, was gonna just take Tom Holland and put him in a Star Wars movie, which would have screwed Sony over. And so there's probably a lot of different pieces that aren't in this Hollywood Reporter article here about how the deal was transpiring, but the point still remains that Tom Holland deserves a lot of credit for this. And wow, what a bold one. And he's a real hero, man. He's doing the fans' work, he's doing the Lord's work, and that is the official report. And last bit of speculation here, it really feels like to me that Feige's statement on Friday about how he'll swing between cinematic universes does imply that within the MCU they will form a diegetic or within the story world way for it to make sense if Spider-Man is in two different universes. There's rumors out there that there will actually be two different Spider-Man, that Tom Holland will play Spider-Man in the Sony Marvelverse, but it won't be the exact same character. I highly doubt that. I think it'll be the same character, and Feige will figure out a way to clean it up, make it clean for an exit, at least from the MCU. So that's what I'm expecting, but again, total speculation. So that's the news. Tom Holland, big hero, helped pull this together, and then went to speculation in town as well. Guys, let me know what you think about any and everything that we talked about here in the comment section below. Again, a couple of slight reminders. We are super close to 100,000 subscribers. If you haven't subscribed, like, do it, man. Join the party before, you know, it gets too crazy in here. It's a crowded room, you know. You should subscribe. And also, I will be at New York Comic-Con this weekend. Looking forward to meeting and hanging out with some of you guys. A lot of you have hit us up on Twitter or Instagram or my personal Instagram. You can do any of those. Hit me up, man. If you're at New York Comic-Con this weekend and you want to meet up, just take a selfie or chat for a little bit, let me know. And now let's check the nerd card before we get out of here. I want to know what other major big franchise is Tom Holland about to star in for Sony? One has to wonder if there was some pressure being put on him, or Sony rather, that he might not be in that movie. Could be another angle here as to why this deal came together. But the question remains, what major franchise is about to roll out for Sony Pictures starring Tom Holland? Answer that question in the comment section below. As I always say, I hope you're having an awesome and a nerdy day, and I'll see you in the next video.